Good evening from Lisbon. It's beautiful here. The sun starts to set in the west and it creates this beautiful lighting here. And that's also a sign that I'm taking a night flight today. I'm starting a new trip today that will take me around southern Africa. And obviously to get there I have to take an African airline. So today I'm taking TAAG Angola Airlines to Angola. And then tomorrow I'm connecting to Johannesburg. Let's see how it goes. I hope it's going to be fun. I'm already checked in. They have online check-in and I selected my seat online. But I still need to drop off some luggage. So let's do that. And then I'll see you at the gate. I walk to the metro, which is the most convenient way to the airport. Inside the terminal, I quickly found a check-in and dropped my luggage. This was quickly done and I headed to security. I had booked this flight via trip.com and I had a free lounge voucher left with them, so I went to the ANA lounge. The lounge was spacious and featured a wide range of seating options. The buffet was well stocked too. The apron view was a bit limited, but after some time I spotted what I was looking for. On the other side of the runway, the TAAG 777 that would bring me to Luanda had pulled up to the stand. At the time of recording, TAAG had 2 daily flights from Lisbon, both of them on 777s. Additionally, there's a daily TAP flight on an A320-900 Neo, so there's definitely a lot of capacity on that route. With the sun setting on the horizon, let's head to the gate. So we're in the non-Schengen area now. There is Emirates preparing for departure to Dubai. And I also saw a Korean Air 787 over there. I've actually never flown Korean Air before. Anyway, it's 9:26 p.m. now. Flight departure is at 11 p.m. and on the boarding pass it says boarding starts at 9:30 p.m. Which is obviously not true. The boarding will not start 1.5 hours before departure. They just put it there so you have enough time to go through passport control here. The aircraft already landed an hour ago from Luanda. It was spot on time. It is Delta 2 Tango Echo Kilo. That's their newest 777. They have 8 777 in total in their fleet, and Tango Echo Kilo joined in September 2016. It was delivered directly from Boeing to TAAG, so it was a fresh aircraft. We'll see how the cabin looks like. I'm really excited to see what TAAG has to offer, and yeah, I guess boarding will start in about half an hour maybe, and then we have to take a bus over to the other side of the apron, because the aircraft is like parked far away from the terminal. Alright, so I will see you when we get on board. The boarding process at the gate was super slow, but eventually I went down the stairs to the bus. And there it is, Delta 2 Tango Echo Kilo. At the age of just about 9 years, it is TAAG's newest 777. The bus went all around the aircraft, making for a nice view even though the apron was very dark. The economy class on board this 777-300 comes with 228 seats in a generous 333 configuration. Usually airlines would use a 343 configuration, so I appreciated the additional space. There were blankets on every seat, but unfortunately no pillows. As for the legroom, I found it to be very good. According to information I found online, it's between 31 and 33 inches, which is absolutely sufficient. The IV looked okay, but was apparently missing some panel in the lower part. There was a remote control for the IV, but I could not find any headphones, and the crew also never offered any, so bring your own. And you can't really see it in the dark, but there was also a universal power outlet beneath the seat.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. On behalf of TAAG Airlines and the entire crew, I'd like to welcome you on board of 777-300 en route to Luanda. We just finalized our boarding process. We're about to close doors very shortly, and we'll be initiating our flight ET613 to Luanda. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. Thank you.
The flight was not full, I think maybe 70%, and I luckily ended up with a free middle seat next to me. Pushback started 5 minutes before the scheduled departure time. During taxi, the crew set some nice mood lighting in the cabin. Soon we reached runway 02 and were off to Luanda. The climb out into the cloudless sky was very calm and the departure route provided excellent views of the city of Lisbon. Since no turbulences were expected, the seatbelt signs were switched off quite early, maybe at around 10,000 feet. While we were climbing, I took out the blanket, which looked quite fine. The seats also featured adjustable headrests, which make a huge difference in economy. Now let's have a look at the content of the IFE. It was a fairly standard system and easy to navigate. Unfortunately, the movie section was very limited, with only 40 movies to choose from. The TV section was similarly limited and included pretty standard shows. As for the games, well, make your own judgment. Overall, the content of the IFE was sadly very disappointing. But at least they had a working flight map, even though it was not very responsive. And apparently we were flying to an unknown airport with a code of XXX. One hour after takeoff, I had a hot dinner in front of me. They had a choice between fish and meat, and I went for the meat. I don't remember what kind of meat it was, but it tasted quite okay. And a special shout out to the bread. This was one of the best pieces of bread I had ever received in economy class. For dessert, they had a chocolate mousse with walnuts, which was also very tasty. All in all, I found this to be a very decent economy class meal. The crew worked fast and efficient, but I felt like they were not overly service-oriented. They showed kind of an attitude and did not really seem to care much for the passengers. I had read and seen reviews of this flight before though, so this was not too much of a surprise. But they did their job, and for example the bathroom was kept rather clean throughout the flight. The flight was uneventful, and an hour and a half before landing the crew came around with the breakfast service. The breakfast was very simple and didn't really meet the quality level of the dinner earlier. There was a bit of salad, some cold ham, kiwi fruit, and a muffin. Nothing to write home about. Breakfast was quickly finished, and then it was time to prepare for the descent into Luanda.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, I'd just like to inform you that we will begin our descent into Luanda in 10 minutes. On behalf of TAAG Angola Airlines, we do thank you for choosing to fly with us. And for those of you with connecting flights, I do hope you have a great onward journey. Until next time, thank you.
As we descended, there was an interesting light show in the cabin with colors switching around all the time. Soon we passed below the clouds and there was a good view of the city of Luanda.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember to shop your landing in Luanda, please make sure that your safety belts are seated and fastened. Thank you.
Lembramos também aos senhores passageiros que devem manter os telemóveis ligados até a abertura das portas. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Angola. We have just landed at Quatro International Airport in Luanda. Thank you for choosing to fly TAAG Angola Airlines.
And welcome to the old airport of Luanda. Runway 23 does not have a parallel taxiway, so we had to backtrack on the runway after landing. The runway also appeared a bit narrow for a 777. I should point out that this flight was recorded in June 2025. In the meantime, operations have shifted to Luanda's new airport further out to the east. After a while we arrived at the parking stands where most of TAAG's other widebody aircraft were already lined up. I have to say I do like the road livery, but wait till you see the new one on the 787 and the A220. And welcome to Luanda Airport. It's the old airport around here. They have a new one as well, but yeah, most flights are still operating to and from the old one. But I can imagine that the new airport must be a lot nicer and a lot more spacious than this one, because this is like a very cramped area up here. They have a food court over there, they have a duty-free shop, there's one bathroom, there's some seating here and there. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. Gonna have to wait here for like 2.5 hours until boarding starts for Johannesburg, and until then I can do some plane spotting. There's the Angola Airlines 787 in the background. That bird was delivered just this year in January 2025. They have 3 more 787s on order, 1 more 787-9 and 2 -10s, and they're gonna replace some of the 777s. I mean, the 777 we flew today is only 9 years old, so no need to replace that really. Also, the cabin I thought was really nice, except for that missing panel at the IFE, but the rest of the cabin was clean and well maintained, I thought, and overall it was a solid flight. It was a 333 configuration in a 777. That's actually quite rare. Usually 777s have 343. The seats were definitely wider than on other aircraft, and also like the seat pitch was very generous, like the leg room. My flight to Johannesburg will be on one of their Airbus A220s. In fact, it's gonna be on their newest one that was delivered just in March this year. Should have a very nice cabin, hopefully. For now, I'm gonna wait here for another 2 hours, and then I'll be back with you on the Johannesburg flight. I spent some more time walking around the terminal, but there wasn't really much to discover and the Wi-Fi was very slow. About an hour before departure, they started checking the boarding passes, and soon I found myself in a bus out to the apron. We passed one of TAAG 737-700s and then reached the 2 Airbus A220s. The newer one of the two, Delta 2 Tango Alpha Foxtrot, was my ride to Johannesburg. The new livery looked very fresh, and I was excited to see how the cabin looked like. TAAG's Airbus A220s feature 125 seats in economy class in a standard configuration with 2 seats on the left and 3 seats on the right. There are also 12 business class seats in the front. As expected, it all looked very clean and modern. They also played calm music, creating a relaxed atmosphere during boarding.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning from the cockpit. First also speaking the entire crew. We'd like to welcome you on board of this Airbus A220 from Angola Airlines. 577 destination Johannesburg. Flight time expected today 3 hours and 10 minutes. We'll be flying cruising altitude of 37,000 feet. Doors are closed. Wish you a pleasant flight.
Yeah, welcome aboard Angola Airlines' newest aircraft, the Airbus A220, registered Delta 2 Tango Alpha Foxtrot. As expected, it all looks very fresh, both from the outside and from the inside. I love the new livery, like compared to the old livery, it's amazing. All the seats are very clean, very modern. They have USB power outlets here, including a USB-C power outlet, and yeah, they're very wide as well. So should be a comfortable flight all the way to Johannesburg, which will take about 3 hours. We pushed back a couple of minutes late, but I didn't really mind. On the apron I could observe some interesting aircraft. This one, for example, is a Beech 1900D by a local airline called Sonair, and an Embraer 145 from another airline called Fly Angola. In the back there were lots of helicopters, but I wasn't really sure what their purpose was.
Ladies and gentlemen, we shall be take off shortly. Please make sure your seat belts are fastened. Thank you.
One out of Luanda, runway 23, absolutely calm takeoff, beautiful climb out. We turned left after departure and flew over the outskirts of Luanda, even past like a stadium on the way. I couldn't see the new airport, it is also somewhere in the east, but yeah, I don't know, I couldn't see it. Now we're above the clouds already and it's all looking like a quiet flight all the way to Johannesburg. Flight is not full, I mean as you can see I have an empty seat next to me, that's really nice, and there are also like a couple of empty seats on the other side, so yeah, not full at all. I reckon maybe 80% full, so the pilots did not apply full thrust on a runway but only reduced thrust. Yeah, so let's get comfortable for the 3-hour flight down to Johannesburg. I'm very curious to see what they will serve. I think there will be like a full meal, like a maybe odd meal, yeah, but let's see. Let's have a closer look at the seat. You can fold down a phone or tablet holder, which can be quite useful. That being said, there was no Wi-Fi on board, and that also means no onboard entertainment. Your only source of entertainment was the in-flight magazine and the seat back. The magazine was quite extensive and featured stories in Portuguese and English. In the back of the magazine you find stories about the airline itself. And most importantly, the route map and fleet information. The fleet information page looked fairly nice until I had a closer look. Now try to spot the 787 here. Yep, it's impossible because they placed a picture of a 777-300 there instead of a 787. A minor mishap, but still kinda funny. The crew now served a meal which turned out to be a lunch bag. It contained an orange, a piece of cake and a sandwich that tasted exactly as dry as it looks. Along with that, there was a choice between tea, coffee, juice or water, but no other soft drinks. Overall, it was nice to get something, but it was nothing outstanding by far. We continued our flight over Angola and later Botswana, and the cloudless views were incredible.
Ladies and gentlemen, so good afternoon once again from the cockpit, first also speaking. Just to let you know that we shall start our descent to Johannesburg within 8 minutes. We hope you have enjoyed the flight, wish you a pleasant stay, have a good weekend, thank you, bye bye.
At some point we crossed into South Africa and started our descent towards Johannesburg.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to South Africa, where we just landed Oliver Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg. Thank you for choosing to fly TAAG Angola Airlines. Wish you a great weekend.
Welcome to the Southern Sun Hotel here right at the airport. It's nothing fancy, but I've stayed here before. It's quite convenient. They have a nice breakfast in the morning. They also serve some dinner in the restaurant, and they have a free airport shuttle every 15 minutes, so what do you need more? What did I think of TAAG Angola Airlines? I liked it, actually. I really liked it. There were some hiccups here and there, but overall it was a very pleasant experience. Like on the flight from Lisbon to Luanda, I had a free middle seat next to me. There was someone on the aisle seat, but like the middle seat was free and the legroom was fantastic, so that was really nice. And it was really amazing to fly their newest Airbus A220 on the way from Luanda here to Johannesburg. You can tell when an aircraft is still brand new, sort of. Also, the crew on the second flight was much more welcoming than on the first flight. On the first flight they were like, why do I have to work today? Yeah, but on the second flight they were really friendly, really caring. And the second flight was super calm as well. The views were absolutely amazing. There were almost no clouds on the way. You had fantastic views of all of Angola and then also Botswana and then coming into northern South Africa. Northern South Africa is a weird thing to say, but anyway. They have a few small things to fix. Maybe replace the picture of the 787 in the magazine. And maybe they can also install like entertainment through Wi-Fi on their Airbus A220, because on like a 3-hour flight down to Johannesburg, having some entertainment can make a huge difference. Anyway, overall, as I said, it was a pleasant experience. I would definitely fly them again. I'm gonna stay here for 2 nights and then I will see you on Monday for my next flight to a different country. It's gonna be very exciting. I've never been to that country before. So subscribe now. I will see you on the next flight, and until then, enjoy your travels.